We're at the sidelines of the Global Business Summit 2025, and I'm in conversation with Amit Goenka, who is the Chairman and Managing Director of Nisus Finance. Sir, pleasure to have you with us here at the summit.
My pleasure too. Thank you for having me, Pooja.
So the domestic financial services landscape is, of course, incredibly cluttered and crowded. What do you believe sets Nisus Finance apart in the larger scheme of things?
I think post-COVID, we've seen a very high disruptive landscape for all business lines, including financial services. There's a very large push to digitization,
Right.
to accessibility, to creating a more equitable environment for the entire investment class to be able to access all products and solutions.
Sure.
And we realized that there were certain asset classes which were only accessible to a very niche population. And we felt that it is important to create a larger, wider push for everybody to be able to access it the way they are accessing equity markets through mutual funds or SIPs or other opportunities, but that is only limited to that. But there are so many other alternative asset classes which are not being easily accessible by all and sundry.
Fair enough.
So, which is why we decided that let's create a more digital platform, almost on the lines of tokenization, where one can actually create more curated solutions with high alpha and risk mitigated returns for the benefit of the larger population. I think which is again very disruptive. Second, we realized that there are a lot of solutions and there's a lot of history and trajectory we've seen as a financial services industry in India, which has been very mature because of the way the regulatory framework has got built over time, and which is why we could withstand global economic shocks in a better way compared to other economies around us. And so we decided that there was a very good template therefore where we could actually transpose to other emerging economies. And so therefore we started to expand our footprint into the UAE and GCC, which obviously is a large market, has got huge potential, but it's still not mature enough in terms of fiscal discipline and financial services. So it was very easy for us therefore to sort of replicate that entire framework and ecosystem and create a more curated environment for that sort of offering within those markets. So again, it became a first mover advantage for us because there's nobody really trying to do that. So that became a very large opportunity set for us. What we also saw is that there has been a huge amount of consolidation in the space post-COVID and post a number of other interventions, including the Insolvency Act, where only a few able people have been able to survive and grow and create a trajectory, or people with disruptive ideas. So that meant that it was important to create a more cohesive, collaborative environment within the financial services ecosystem. So rather than now compete for the same pie, we thought it is better that if we can create a more structured way of working between our peers and so-called competition. That way eliminating the competition, in all measures. Because now we are collaborating, creating a more cohesive environment for the same opportunity set. So that's really what we started to do. We became an integral part of creating financial and investment solutions for large opportunities in the hands of the able people by bringing in both domestic as well as foreign institutions under the same platform, creating a unified solution and a investment product which all can then participate, which we can then manage for everybody. So that made it easier for them to access the opportunities without having to spend that much of transaction cost and time. So that was a very third important differentiation factor for us. And of course, I think preferences for investors are changing very rapidly. We have seen household savings come down. People have gravitated from keeping money in fixed deposit and gold to being more bold in terms of their investment choices. And I think it was important for us to continuously find those opportunities for them. So we're constantly finding our own blue ocean in this entire, so we're moving away effectively from legacy assets to more new age investment solutions and financing ideas, which are more accessible, which are more understandable, and which are more appealing to the Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, and the millennials, the entire sort of investment base. And I think that has been a very, very exhilarating experience for us.
Well, Amit, I think you really set the context in terms of giving us a nice lay of the land when it comes to the broader financial ecosystem. But if we were to hone in on private capital markets in particular, talk to me about the pace with which they've matured and what role you anticipate that Nisus Finance will play going forward in that process.
I think it's a fantastic question, Pooja, and I think it's the age for private capital today. When you saw, and one of the best ways to measure that is the growth of what we call the alternative investment fund industry, the AIF regime, because that's really the only platform which attracts, keeps and manages private capital in India. Earlier we had venture capital regime, we had other regimes and PMSs, but this is really the bellwether of managing private capital. So we saw that space of AIFs have grown by close to 230%.
It's a staggering figure.
It's
This
a
is over
staggering
what
figure.
time frame, however?
This is over the last 10 years. And it continues to grow at 36% now year on year. And it has reached a point where the commitments today in AIFs are over 13 lakh crores. And if you compare to the mutual fund industry, which is much older, much mature, and far more discovered, it is at about 50 lakh crores. So it is estimated, which is growing at about 16%. So it is estimated that the private capital will end up becoming almost equal to the size of the mutual fund industry in the next 5 years. So that's the pace at which private capital is growing, and it is obviously fueled by aspirations of investors, by ambitions of global investors and LPs who are looking at India as an opportunity set. And so therefore it's a conglomeration of capital, both domestic and global, and ideas and opportunities on one side, which are very curated and thematic in nature, and not generic as when you're only looking at mutual funds or fixed deposits or standard bond offerings.
Sure. Well, Amit, you just brought up aspirations and ambitions, and how do you ensure that your employees, within the four walls of Nisus Finance, are in line with your broader objectives vis-a-vis the domestic private capital markets?
So I think it's a process of inward and outward thinking, which is really the core capability of Nisus Finance. So we see ourselves as thought leaders and not just service providers, not just as capitalists, not just as financial services guys. We see ourselves as thought leaders, as disruptors, and that can only come when there is a very strong think tank internally. So we almost started imagining that what if we were Google, and we were sitting and creating the world's best products and solutions for the wider audience. It has to come from the team's own ability and capability to understand the pulse of the market, to see what is it that we can curate, put together those ideas and solutions and experiment with it. So we've really created a very strong human ecosystem, a very strong human capital base within our organization, which is honestly a true strength. It's not how much money we manage, it's the quality of people that are behind the money we manage. And I think that's really what we pride ourselves with, and which is why we've been able to constantly innovate and disrupt our products and solutions and services and create very high alpha returns. So in fact, one of the reports says that the delta between me and my nearest competing service provider or investment manager is almost 2x. And we may be 1/3 of their size, or 1/4 of their size. And it's only because of this constant innovation, this constant strife, this constant restlessness that the team has to be able to provide an alpha, a delight to their customers.
Well, Amit, it's a pleasure to speak with you. It's a pleasure to speak with you here at the Global Business Summit, and we wish you and the entire Nisus Finance team all the continued success.
Thank you very much, and all the very best to you and GBS for this year.
Thank you.